Hey guys, and welcome back to Feelin' Feline, where we're going to be talking about smart consumerism. Smart consumerism. What is that? What is it exactly? What have I been doing lately to be saving the planet or money or just everything in general, just being more mindful of everything that I'm buying? Well, I'm going to be talking about it right here, right now, and I'm so excited to get into this, so let's just get started. Hey, you guys, and welcome back to another episode. I cannot believe it is literally the last weekend of February. Can you guys believe that? This whole January, February shit has completely snapped in a blink of an eye, and it's literally about to get so much busier. Like, there's a ton of birthdays, weddings, batch parties, a bajillion things going on. My boyfriend's birthday, my anniversary. It's in just a few more months and I'm so excited. Like, I can't believe how much time is passing. 2022 has been, I don't know how to explain it. Like, am I supposed to say it's been a better year? Has it been a better year? Am I really doing productive things? I mean, technically, yes. I mean, I'm proud to say that I've been doing better waking up at 6 a.m. I think that I'm finally finding the connection that gets me up in the morning. So I'm really proud of that. A few things that I've changed in my life is one, I'm just trying to be more aware of my spending. And two, I'm trying to meal prep more so I don't have to give into the food temptation. Although the last week I've been terrible. I can't help it. I don't know. I just love food so much. And I know it's cutting season, but I need to take a break. And honestly, I don't know how bodybuilders go from cutting to maintaining to bulking to cutting to maintaining. I feel like I just love food so much and I don't know how you do it. So big props to you guys, bodybuilders and people who just count their calories all the time. It's extra hard for me. I don't know. I don't know how you guys do it, but I mean, I'm still trying for sure. And that's what's getting me up in the mornings is, having this routine. And I feel like having a routine has been helping me just be more connected with myself. And there's a couple things I still want to do, like journaling, meditating. I used to do a lot of that, but I'm finding it a little bit harder just to do it in the mornings because I get up to work out. But I've just been proud of myself for being able to do even that. So, yeah. So I wanted to talk about in this episode another thing that I've been working on, and that is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier, and that is watching what I spend, but also being aware of what I spend on. So what do I mean by this, Feline? What do you mean? It's smart consumerism. And I think as 20-somethings, it is important. Yes, our world is literally on the verge of ending, the planet is dying, and I don't necessarily know how we can save it, but there's at least some small things we can do as one person that we can change to kind of at least help and try to be a part of the change that maybe we're not even aware that we're doing. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this because I've changed a lot in my life about just trying to be a little bit better, using my resources more, not being wasteful, not spending so much money on clothes that I'm only going to wear once every now and then. There's a lot around saving money here that I'm going to be talking about, but it's also just being more friendly to the environment. So kind of two birds, one stone situation. You help yourself, but you're also at least trying to help to be part of the bigger change that we need to make for this world, and also just small little habits for ourselves and for our future generations to kind of see as they're growing up as well. So yeah, I think the really reality of it is that we can't really solve the world ending kind of solution as one person, but there are so many things that we do in our everyday routine that's just super wasteful sometimes. And sometimes it's something that we just are so used to in life growing up because it's just what we've seen growing up. It's something that, that saying that's like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But when it comes to helping the environment out, there's a lot of little things that we could do here and there to kind of help with the situation. At least, feel a little better, like, playing your part, even if there's not really anything major that we can do as like one single person. You know what I mean? So, the first thing that I've been kind of trying to really change is the amount of bags I use and also how I use the bags. So, obviously, when you go to ShopRite, you use a lot of shopping bags. Well, in probably a lot of cultures, you guys probably already know this, but for Asian cultures and at least me growing up, we never bought garbage bags. I mean, for the bigger garbages in the kitchen, we did use like garbage bags, but for the bathroom, for even things like, the garbage can in your room, I have been using plastic bags, like the same plastic bags that we use, when we're going grocery shopping. And I don't know, I just feel like in a way that's helping because you're kind of using the same thing more than once and also like making better use of it, if that makes sense. So that's just one thing that I've been kind of trying to do, but also just shopping bags in general. Did you guys know, for all my New Jersey listeners, we are actually going to be eventually getting rid of plastic bags altogether, which I am definitely all supportive, all for, because plastic bags, in my opinion, is such a waste. We could be using our own bags that we use multiple times. And you guys know what bags I'm talking about. It's that huge, flimsy looking, but it's not really flimsy. It can hold a lot of shit, grocery bag where you can put a bunch of stuff. And I feel like Trader Joe's kind of has started that. They haven't replaced the bags completely, but they've been really good with, taking up as much space as you can in one bag that can hold like everything at once. So I'm liking that we're moving forward in that direction. So I can definitely at least say that that's one of the few things that I'm doing to help with the environment. And also, and just other things, I feel like for skincare too, this is really less of a environmentally friendly, but more just a smart consumerism thing, that I'm buying products that are actually vegan and they're not tested on animals. So the biggest one that I use is Pacifica. If you guys know about that, it's vegan, they don't test on animals, all the ingredients are super natural. So I don't know, just things like that. I hate the thought of like using something that was used on animals. Maybe they were abused, like not treated well. Like that makes me sick and uncomfortable and kind of scared, in my opinion. So that's like another one of the things I do to kind of be a little smart with what I'm buying. And buying is such a huge topic in terms of smart consumerism. There's so many things that we do that is so wasteful. The biggest example that I can think of is literally like, why do we buy new clothes all the time? There's a bajillion pieces of clothing that is sitting around in thrift stores, and it's so much cheaper. If you think about it, yes, it's a little gross that maybe someone else is, I don't know, using it, or it's been worn before. And granted, there's a note for this. Shoes and maybe hats, I don't know, I'm kind of weird with hats too. Shoes and hats, I can totally understand buying new because there's a lot of nasty things going on with like your feet, with your hair, with your scalp. Like even just thinking about it makes me nauseous. But even that, it has a short lifespan. Like, let's be honest. If you buy a shirt, how often are you going to wear it? Compared to all the bajillion other things that already exist in your closet. Like, I struggle with that a lot. I buy clothing that, because, I feel like, especially because of social media, pictures, people remember if you've, worn an outfit again. And I think this is especially particular for fancy events or anything. I try my best to buy things that I can wear again. And when I say that, when you're shopping for dresses or a fancy shirt, for an event, like a wedding, for example, or a sweet 16 or a really fancy party, anything. You got to ask yourself, is there any way that I can rewear this in the future? And if your answer is no, then it's kind of not worth buying it because realistically, like these clothings are not cheap. Like we waste so much money just to look brand new each and every time. And do you guys realize how much that wastes? And even though you're buying new things, another thing you can do is to donate it or thrift it. Make a little thrifting business and resell all your fancy stuff. I know a lot of people who actually make some side income by selling some of their fancy stuff. And I think that's awesome because, again, you wear the expensive things only once and you can resell it, maybe for not as much as you bought it for, because, I feel like reselling sometimes has to be like less than the original value, but still, you get some of that money back, right? It's basically, you spending $90, selling it for $80, and your net loss is about $10, which is an equivalent of like a shirt from Shein or something, which I think is absolutely so smart. There's already so many people in this universe, and the amount of clothing that's going to waste and people spending money on that is just exponentially growing. Like it gets worse every day. And even just in my own closet, like I feel like shoes especially, oh my god, I waste so much money on shoes. It's not ideal and it's not really the best idea to like continuously hoard shoes, which is what I do. And not only is it bad for your personal storage, but also, the environment. There's a lot of things that they use for the shoes. But if you're going to buy shoes in general, try to get any products that have minimal packaging. I mean, even that's such a small thing. Shein, actually, I'm going to give some kind of comment with Shein because I know it's such a popular, like, store, but they do put, like, I'm not even joking, one shirt in one bag. So like if you're ordering 5 things, you're already having not just a huge box, but also with the huge box, like 5 bags of which one piece of clothing is in it. And there's just, the only thought that comes to me is, isn't there a more environmentally friendly way to store these clothes? And also, I'm super shocked that there's still not a current way to do that. And I know that like in the future, there's a lot of environmental engineers like my sister who I'm sure there's becoming a larger like focus on more environmentally friendly things and packaging engineering, all these things. But I'm just surprised because why do we need all these bags for 5 pieces of clothing? I'm sure there must be some better way to store it. But, and that's a big but, I like the idea of at least reusing these bags for like a different reason. And the biggest example is my friend recently, I think was so smart. Like it didn't even occur to me as a girl who reuses her plastic bags. She was like, oh, because we're going to Florida in a couple days. We should just use the Shein bags to like hold our dirty laundry. Like at least we're using it for a little bit longer and having more like value to it. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. Like I was going to use my own plastic bags, like regardless, but that's a great idea. Like I threw all of my Shein bags out. Like they're gone, but I totally could have used it for anything else, like a bajillion other things. It's really cool. So moral of the story, and this is going to be a big statement for the majority of this episode, is to buy what you need and consuming less. Not less meaning starving yourself, down to 5 pieces of clothing. But let's be real. Do you really need, and this is a question for myself, do you really need all the 20 sweaters that are in your closet right now? Do you need 30 pairs of underwear? Do you need I don't know, like 6 sweatpants? I can probably tell you I have like 12 pairs of jeans and maybe like even double that of leggings and shit. And there's a laundry for a reason. So I don't know. It's just things like that. Like looking back in the past 10 years and like my really bad shopping habits and me just like being stressed and buying things like way too much. I think that kind of makes me cringe just a little bit, because if you could go back in the past like 5 to 10 years of what you've spent on unnecessary things, you really could be looking at thousands of dollars. And thousands of dollars is a lot, especially for things like mortgage, down payments, saving up for a car. That means a lot. And I think that's why recently I've been doing better with buying, but I have good weeks where I don't buy a single thing. Then out of nowhere, I'll be inclined to buy like 5 pairs of sneakers, and I'm super embarrassed to even admit that. But another thing is that, I can be talking about all this and still struggle to do it right? Like, I'm not perfect. Nobody's going to be. But I think the importance of realizing, at least every now and then, and kind of being better each and every time is the more important part, because a lot of things go to waste, like way more than what you really realize sometimes. So another kind of part of my life right now that I'm trying to be kind of smart in consuming is really just things like kind of deciding like when to buy things, and also just not buying like, one thing at a time. And the best example of this is grocery shopping or Amazon shopping, or even just, meal prepping for the week. So I'll start with shopping, obviously, because it's a lot. But let's say you need, I don't know, a refill on your skincare products, right? And you also need face cream, but not yet, maybe in a couple weeks. So you kind of want to try to time it that you're buying things more in bulk for necessary purchases. And I think that's something we don't think about quite often. But if you think about it, like, go back through your Amazon history, because I know that everyone's going to be the same as me. One day you'll be buying 2 things. Then 2 days later, you're like, oh shit, I forgot to add, I don't know, razors or something. And you order razors. Then you also, 2 days later, you forget. You're like, oh crap, I forgot I wanted a dress to my friend's bridal shower, and heels, and, these new bralettes that I saw. And then next thing you know, you have 3 different packages coming on 3 different days. And something that I noticed, actually, now that we're talking about this, I didn't even realize it up until this point, but there is something on Amazon that they do, and I think it's so cool if you have different items, being delivered on different times, even in just one single order, because sometimes one item takes like longer than the other to get here. They have this option for things to be delivered all at once. And not only is that environmentally friendly, it reduces packaging, it reduces money. I don't know, like, you have to pay shipping each and every time you order something, right? So that's just one thing listen, shipping is usually like $6, $5. It's really, a low number. But multiply that by like your 30 bajillion orders, and that's already $200 down the drain. You know what I mean? It's something as small as that over time will be hurting you more, if that makes sense. So even that, I think that's so cool that Amazon does that. And honestly, like, if you're looking at that order and you remember me, you should definitely pick that day where they're all delivered at once. It's just better, and it's just smarter to have it delivered at once. Let's be real. Everybody wants their packages like, yesterday. I order it today. I want it 48 hours ago. And because of that, Amazon tries their best to get products out as soon as possible. And major props to Amazon, and major props to Whole Foods delivery services. Anything that has deliveries, like, they try their hardest to get all the shit to you as soon as possible. So I think that's just amazing on their part. So that's kind of their way of trying their best to minimize packaging and be more smart in consumerism and wasting different things. So now it's our turn, on the reverse side, we should maybe think about our cart. one rule that I do is if I seriously want to buy it, I'll still have it in my cart within 24 to 36 hours. And I still stick to that because the next day I might be forgetting something, There's even something small that I forgot to add that I remember, and at least it saves, one box, one bubble wrap or one trip back to the apartment for someone to deliver it and wasting gas. It's these little things that, like I said, from your view as one person, it's nothing. Like, what's the point of this, Feline? Like, everything's going to go to waste anyways. That's what everyone says, right? No. If you take what you do, multiply it by the population of this entire planet, like millions of people, billions. I don't know exactly the population, but you tell me. Multiply that by everybody in this planet, and we've done such a great job on preventing waste, minimizing waste. And I don't know, doesn't that make you guys so shocked? Because it really is the little things. And I stress this about life in general, like life changes, anxiety, routine changes, but even just helping our planet Earth, our beautiful Earth that gives us, the life that we have, the ability to have a job, the ability to travel, the ability to fly places, to get from point A to B without walking for like 2 weeks straight. That is what our beautiful planet gives us. So I feel like, don't we owe it to the planet, to Mother Nature, to be a little nicer, to our planet and to all the things around us? That's just something that I think about sometimes. Life gets so busy, we don't really pay attention to the automatic stuff, throwing out things, receiving packages, paying our bills, things like that. And even that, paying our bills or sending out invitations or writing cards or even printing things out. I love that we are going electronic. I know sometimes it gets frustrating, but I don't know, isn't it a little bit better? Like, I find myself being more organized in that aspect. And I think it's just awesome. We've always had virtual invites, and still to this day, people send out like paper invitations, which is no problem at all. But if you really think about it, you save paper, time, postage, even money. Sending out invitations, yes, is like $2 per envelope. It's not that bad. But let's say you're going to send out like 250 invitations. 250 invitations times $2. I mean, look at that. It's already $500 that you've blown. And I'm just thinking, like, I don't know, just things like that. I feel like it's cool to have the virtual version or something that is more electronic because, one, you're not wasting anything by sending an email, right? Like, yes, it might get stuck in someone's inbox, for example, and will be lost forever. But there's credibility there, right? At least if it's not deleted, you can still go back and find it. I think that's awesome. Like, I can literally pull up my points that I was refunded back because I couldn't go on a trip last year. And that was, like a year ago? And every year we get like hundreds of emails from whatever. So I think that's cool. Imagine I had a paper copy and only a paper copy. Bitch, I wouldn't be finding that thing for like days if I'm even lucky. So that's just another reason why I love technology. That's just more the positive side that comes along with technology and just our advancement in that sense. So even things like that, like, I don't know, invitations, maybe weddings is a little different depending on preference, but that is also something that you could really save paper on, save energy on, because making something electronically is definitely not as much effort as something in person or in paper. So even that. And I think something that we don't even realize that happens in our daily work life is sending documents back and forth. Having electronic records, electronic, management systems in our computers. Like, you guys don't realize how much paper that saves. Like, imagine all of your emails. Like, think about all your work emails. There's a bajillion things in those emails, but imagine every email had an attachment. Now imagine every attachment having to be paper-based. Like, that's crazy to me. It takes up not only so much space, but it wastes so much paper. Like, every time I think of the fact that paper is wasted and therefore a tree is killed again and cut down and there's less oxygen in the air and our planet is basically dropping in oxygen levels, like, it scares me, and I try my best to be as electronic as possible. Even concert tickets and other tickets in general. I'm glad that that kind of came out of the COVID pandemic. Like, for the longest time, people were still, using paper copies of things. And I think that, like, because it was kind of more push to have like virtual copies of things, virtual tickets, and like sending over things virtually, we save so much paper. It's a lot of things that you don't realize that you're doing, but like I said, every little thing does a lot if a lot of people do it at once. So, if you guys are still using paper bills or everything that could be moved digitally, I highly suggest you think about that situation and just, like I said, every little thing matters no matter what. Like, at least we're trying, right? At least we're putting in the effort. We're being aware of what is kind of wasteful in our lives and kind of making changes in that aspect. Now, my next topic is something that we commonly do, and that's eat. We eat hella food. But how many times have you experienced, the disappointment of you seeing something that's expired in your fridge and having to throw it out because you have not been able to use it because, one, you want fresh food every time, or two, you're just ordering takeout all the time. And I think that that's super major in our lives, like the waste of food. So much food goes to waste. I cannot even stress that. Not just in our lives, in restaurants. Like, I used to work in the restaurant business for 6 years, more than actually. The amount of food that's wasted is disgusting. Like, there are literally people in countries that cannot even afford a green onion or cannot afford onions or peppers for that matter. And I think that's such a major thing about our country in the US, for you people listening in the US. And honestly, in other countries too, but the US definitely. There's so much food wasted. You could go to the city in New York and just see trash everywhere, like wasted food, because there's nowhere to go. And I don't know if we can control restaurants as one person, but as one person in your own household, what can you do? So, what I like to do is plan out my meals. And I know it's easier said than done, don't get me wrong, but hear me out. It is so much better when you plan ahead. Before you go grocery shopping, like, ask yourself, what do I want to eat this week? And realistically, it's 7 days. If you are not happy with your food choices, change it up the next week. You know what I mean? There's a lot that you can do to be smart in consuming food, especially planning out your meals. That helps so much. When you plan out your meals, you plan out your groceries. You plan out what you need to buy, what you need to cook, and you also just plan out how much everything is, and you really get to look at your budgets and really save money in that aspect. My mom is very bad at doing smart shopping. She goes to the grocery store and forgets what she even has to buy. This is the funniest thing. She'll go to the store, for example, to buy vegetables for like sinigang. By the way, if you guys have not tried sinigang, it's amazing. If you're into sour soups, it's freaking amazing. I highly recommend it. But anyway, she's at the store looking for vegetables for sinigang. She goes there and she gets distracted and she comes home with everything but the vegetables, like pancit canton, which is just like Filipino ramen but without the soup. She comes home with that. She comes home with like snacks, ube ice cream, food that's already cooked and put together. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, we needed just the vegetables. And I think that's just so funny. And I know we're not the only people who kind of struggle with that. I mean, I feel like everybody does that sometimes. Like, you're like, oh shit, maybe I need the chips. Maybe I need more tomato sauce without actually checking. That's another thing that I used to have too. I would go to the grocery store without making a list. And that was my first problem. I would check when I can, but when I couldn't, I would just guess. I'd be like, do I need more tomato sauce? Do I need more soy sauce? And it's just so funny sometimes because Marcos would literally be like, Feline, we have like 3 more soy sauces in the pantry right now. And it's so embarrassing, but I'm like, oh my God, I have to change this. It's such a waste of money because not only do things expire around the same time, like, if you buy bananas one week and then bananas again the next week, they're going to be expired around the same time. And now you have to like crunch to use up all of your bananas. So that's why I say that planning our meals, or at least being like aware of what we really need in our fridge and our pantry and like things like that, it does so much because not only are you not wasting food, you're not wasting your money. And I know you guys love to hear that it's not a waste of your money. That's obviously the more selfish reason to plan our meals, or at least, somewhat plan, right? Like you can be a little flexible. There's nothing wrong with getting takeout, but getting takeout every day, like it's a waste of money. Let's be real, right? Okay, let me give an example. Ordering Thai food is my favorite thing to do. It is also the most expensive thing for me to do because I have a DoorDash membership, right? And yes, I save about, I don't know, $10. I think it doesn't include shipping fees or something. There's some fees that are taken out when you have the DoorDash membership. However, the food is still expensive. To tip someone is expensive. And don't get me wrong, we must support small businesses and people who are, doing this as a full-time job at all costs, right? But we have to do it without the sacrifice of our own financial situation. If we're going broke because we're buying so much takeout, like that's where your problem is, right? You could still, reward yourself for takeout and, if you're having a bad day like I do and just buy hella Thai food. But if you do it every day, it is such a waste of money. Like you don't even realize you're wasting so much money on just that. If you meal prep, like for example, one week when I was like having to really refill my pantries and my refrigerator, it was $200. Now, granted, someone who's listening to it right now, $200, holy shit, girl, like what'd you buy? But think about it, right? 200 divided by 7 days in the week is, hold up, let me calculate this. It is $29 a day. Now, mind you, me and Marcos live together, right? My boyfriend. We live together. That's $29 for 2 people for 3 meals. Think about that. 29 divided by 3 is like about 9-ish. Now think about that, right? $9 per meal. Bitch, DoorDash costs me like $50 to $60 at a time because of the tax, the additional fees. Really think about that, If you're spending DoorDash at least, let's say for dinner every day for 5 days, that's already $300 down the drain. And that's the same amount, if not a little more, than what you would spend if you spent on groceries for the whole week and meal prepped, or at least just focused on cooking for the week. And that's also another thing. If you really like Thai food like I do, learn the damn recipe, I think it's so cool because, first of all, Thai food is not necessarily the healthiest thing in the world. I won't lie to you. And I found alternative things like, I don't know if you guys have heard about shirataki noodles. They're made out of tofu and mushrooms, I believe. But rice noodles is probably 180 to 200 calories per serving. And for pad thai, there's probably about 2 to 3 servings in there. So already just that one dinner serving is hella calories. Like, that's also another thing, if you're being mindful about your food. You can control the seasoning, the salt, the sodium content, the sugar, the different ingredients that go in there. If you don't like bean sprouts, you don't have to add bean sprouts. If you don't like rice noodles, you can add the shirataki noodles. That's also another example of smart consumerism because not only are you being less wasteful to the environment, less food being thrown out, rotting in your fridge, expiring before you can even use it, you're also saving money. Like when you see that rotten yogurt, that rotten apple, and you have to throw it out, it must pain you at least a little bit. Or maybe it doesn't, but eventually it will. You will really get frustrated. And I've gotten frustrated with it too, that really, like, I literally just spent $200 on groceries and I have to throw half of it out, or a fourth of it, or even an eighth of it. $20 these days barely gets you a full tank. You know what I mean? Speaking of, these gas prices are disgusting. I cannot believe they're that much. Like my dad told me 20 years ago, gas was like 79 cents a gallon. Isn't that crazy? That's a whole nother topic of smart consumerism, because that's not really our responsibility, but we need to get out of gas completely, because it's just causing so many financial problems, and it's just costing too much just to, get us from point A to point B. The future of electronic cars is a beautiful one. I will guarantee that for you guys. But anyways, yeah, food, that's like one of the biggest places we can start to be more smarter in how we consume it, how we spend money on it. And that way we avoid putting ourselves deeper in debt, financial crises, and use that money for something else like saving for a home or paying our bills that already exists. That's the most frustrating, right? If you're already drowning in bills and have a lot of loans to pay back, for example, like I do, it's hard to throw something out. It feels so painful. It's like the worst feeling ever when you have to waste something knowing that you spent money and that's not being put to good use. And really, if you didn't even buy that whole thing, you would be able to use it to pay off something or save up for, your wedding or your mortgage or something in the future. Which kind of also puts me in the same topic as bargains, right? This is the biggest thing, because people always lean towards the products that are more popular versus something that's pretty much the same thing, but is way cheaper. And I'm not just talking about food. This is like a lot of things, If you see something on TV, you assume that it's the most popular product because, oh wow, they have a commercial about it, etc. But if you really do your research, it's not the most environmentally friendly choice, or it's not the most smart decision to make. Like there's other products that either use less energy, for example, or are just cheaper. I think the biggest example is looking at different grocery stores, honestly. Some grocery stores sell different things at different prices, but even when you go into the specifics, like there's, I'm not going to name names exactly because I can't really think of I'm not good at remembering brand names, but there's this popular tomato sauce that everyone likes. Actually, I'll be more specific. Ragu. All right. That's like one of the popular tomato sauces. First of all, y'all read the nutrition facts. That shit has a lot of sugar. Like really, it has a lot of sugar. And it's really not that difficult to get canned tomato sauce or a different tomato sauce, make it from complete scratch, and season it the way you want to so it doesn't have the sugar, I know we're in a rush sometimes to cook, don't get me wrong, but even other brands of tomato sauces has less sugar content. Even the tomato sauce, think about that. There's tomato sauce in a lot of things, and we could be reducing our sugar and therefore improving our health a little bit by just changing our tomato sauce. We love pasta, right? Like who doesn't love pasta? Even that though. So really think about that. That's something that we all eat often, and we don't even realize that even things like Ragu has higher sugar content than maybe other brands. Then there's, electronics or technology or products like a fridge or a washer, You should definitely do your research and compare to the models that you have versus other people's. Read online reviews. They will tell you exactly, if this is worth your money. And we're always so quick to want to buy something and always like have it as soon as possible. And, Amazon and Shopify, they're trying their best to really please the customers who want the products as soon as possible. Like they really try their best. However, now it's in our responsibilities to be a little smarter about it, right? We should be looking for things that are reliable, that'll last you a long time, that's good, reasonably priced. If you're taking something that is a little bit more expensive, maybe it's a little bit more high class. Maybe it's like The Sims. There's like a washing machine that self cleans versus something that doesn't self clean, but you could upgrade to self cleaning for much less. That's something that you have to consider too. It's always about saving money, but also saving the environment. And if you really read the reviews, there's a lot of products that are just super wasteful. They don't use the right energy. They're not efficient. And we really won't know the answers unless we do our research. As the generation that we are, we're always looking for change and to better ourselves, as we should. And I think that starts with being aware of what we're buying. Like, of course we should be aware, we can't just blindly buy things without understanding them. And listen, okay, here's a perfect example. Everyone who buys on Shein, we know to read the reviews because sometimes they'll tell you if it's, true to size or order something smaller or order something larger, etc. Why don't we do that for everything else in our lives? Clothes are the least important compared to the energy bills that we're paying, electricity and water, all these different things. So why don't we put that same energy towards that? I think that's so crazy. So again, the goal is the best value for your money at the lowest price. And that's kind of where smart consumerism comes in. There's a lot of characteristics of being a smart consumer. Don't get me wrong. A lot of it is helping the environment. The other part is saving money. And that's another thing with technology. I've talked about the good parts, but the bad parts also is that you are exposed to probably what's the most popular things to buy, to consume, when really they're not worth the amount that it is, the cost that it is. And it's really important that we continue to be aware of propaganda, the over advertisement of things, and really read between the lines of what something is. Because no matter how glorious something looks on a website, the reality of it is never as good as it's advertised, right? There's always some issue that's going on. And I think that we definitely need to try our best to be more aware in that aspect, not just in how it's helping us save money, how it's making our lives better, of course, because that's why we buy things. It makes our lives better, right? But also how valuable it is in our lives. The biggest thing in kind of my life right now that I've changed recently is actually dip powder. And for my guys who don't use nail polish, I'm so sorry that I'm even talking about this, but dip powder, it is so freaking expensive. Like the guys, they don't have to pay too much for maintenance things, right? It's so expensive. You have to spend like $60 at the very minimum for dip powder, and dip powder is super long lasting. But guess what, guys? That shit is only $2 per bottle of dip powder. You guys are paying so much to get your nails done. And I understand we're not super artsy, not all of us are like that. But it wouldn't hurt every now and then to do your own nails. Also, one downside of getting your nails done is, I don't know about you guys, maybe it's just my nail place sucks, but I've had to wait such a long time to get my nails done. It takes me like 2 hours. Like, why not do your nails at the comfort of your own home sometimes? And I'm not saying to completely, start doing your own nails, but it wouldn't hurt every now and then to, if you're doing just a solid color, just go home and do it, something like that. I just bought a whole kit for, I think it was like $89. Mind you, this is a whole kit, like all the accessories you need, like 5 different dip colors, $89. And that's going to last me forever. Like there's literally 22 uses per container times 5. Like I have 100 uses for it. So that's another thing, it's just simple things like that. And yes, self-care is super important. I love to get my nails done. Now we just go for a pedicure and stuff, but just being aware of how much everything is and how much I really could save by doing it other ways. Like that's what's most important to me. And honestly, to everyone as our own generation of things, like our own generation of saving money, being more aware, being smarter in our consuming habits, just things like that, because we don't want to worsen the situation, right? That's like the main thing of what I'm trying to say. We don't want to make it worse for our future generations. We want our kids and all of our friends' kids to live a comfortable life and not have to feel low on oxygen or feel like the atmosphere is worsening. This is the hard truth that we unfortunately have to deal with. I hate to think it, but we are technically the generation that's kind of starting to fix what our ancestors have unfortunately ruined for us. But this is kind of the first step in just being aware of things and really reading through things, really reviewing things, hearing the information, analyzing the products. Is it really environmentally friendly? Do I really need all this stuff in my cart like tomorrow? Can I wait a couple of days? Can I wait until maybe I'm closer to the end of my products to order it all in bulk and maybe, use less boxes? It's all little things like that. Like I said, they add up. Every little effort matters. And I think that it's important that we just start talking about it, right? Start talking about what we can do to continue to be a smart consumer, reuse things sometimes, and, just be a better person every day, make these little changes to help the environment as much as possible, to help ourselves as much as possible, save the money. Like $20 isn't anything, but doing the same thing that saves you $20 every day for a full year, like you guys do the math, that's still money that you save. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I would love for you guys to go to Spotify and see if there's anything else that you guys do to help continue being a smart consumer. So yeah, any questions, concerns, topics, I would love to hear from you. Message me on Instagram, Twitter, my website, everything. My website is feelinfeeling.com. My Twitter is feelinfeeling, and my Instagram is feelinfeeling podcast. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I really would love to talk about more things. Like that's just the iceberg of my smart consumer decisions, lately. And I'm still trying to do more. So any other comments, let me know. I would love to implement some things in my life. But yeah, that's it. And I'll talk to you guys next week. See ya.